Well, welcome everyone to Cabaret Conversations with the 92nd Street Y School of Music. I am Michael Kirk Lane, your host for this evening. This is our fourth in our series of conversations with members of the cabaret community to discuss the art form. Before we get started, just a few ground rules that make the evening flow a little smoother. If you have your camera on at this time and you are not Karen Mason or myself, please turn your camera off. It works best for the flow of the evening if Karen and I are the only two with our cameras and our microphones on. When we come to the end of the evening, when we have more of our group discussion, I will then invite you to turn your cameras and microphones on at that time. It does also work better if you keep yourself in speaker view throughout instead of gallery view. That allows you to focus on Karen and myself as we have our discussion. Quickly look down my list. If you have any questions throughout the evening, any thoughts, if you think of a question you would like me to ask Karen at the end of the evening in the discussion section, you can type that into the chat function on Zoom, and I will see those there as the evening progresses. Or if you see there's a big technical glitch, feel free to let me know that as well. But it is time for us to get started, and I am so thrilled that my guest for this fourth edition of Cabaret Conversations. This is a veteran of 6 Broadway shows, including, of course, Sunset Boulevard, Hairspray, and originating Tanya in Mamma Mia, which got her a Drama Desk nomination. She was nominated for actually won an Outer Critics Circle Award for her performance in And the World Goes Round. She has 3 Bistro Awards, at least a dozen MAC Awards, including a Lifetime Achievement Award in 2019. Please welcome the iconic cabaret performer, Karen Mason. Karen, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I am so thrilled that you said yes to joining us so early in our series. You said yes before I think we'd even done the first one and established what it was going to be.
Oh, you even asked. I said yes.
Well, it is so great to have you. So I want to just start out and say, you've had great success, obviously, on the mainstream theater stage, but you also keep coming back to cabaret. What keeps bringing you back?
I love the medium. I love singing to people that I can actually see their eyes. I like that connection, and it means a great deal to me to be able to sing a song to a small. I mean, concerts are great too, but to be able to sing to a small room, there's something kind of magical about it. And if it's going well, it's very magical. If it's not, it's a very long period of time.
I mean, that is the intimacy of the art form.
Yes, yeah. And it becomes like a conversation. I know, other people say this all the time, and it's really true. For me, I mean, the type of cabaret that I do, not everybody does the same type. That's what's so brilliant about the medium, is that it can be, as long as it's honest, it can be anything. It can be.
There could be a space for everyone within it, as long as you
absolutely
have that intimacy and that honesty and genuine feeling in what you're doing.
Yeah. So what I like to do is just enjoy myself. I once had a manager who said to me, as long as you step on that stage with the intention of this is going to be a party for everybody, then you're going to have then you set the mood. Mm-hmm. And I think that's an important thing that I've learned over the years, as opposed to letting the audience tell me their mood. You have to walk out on stage and say, this is how the evening is going to go, and we're going to have a great
charge. Yeah. I think I've heard Lena Katrakis say it, and some others as well, but it does sometimes become that the audience is almost your scene partner.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's definitely a communication back and forth. And what you get from them inspires you, and back and forth and back and forth.
When you're seeing cabaret, because I see you out at the club seeing other performers, or seeing somebody new coming on the scene, or working with an up-and-coming performer who you're mentoring, What excites you in when you're seeing another cabaret performer?
What excites me, and it does sound so trite, but it is the honesty of their conviction, that they really believe what they're singing,
Hmm.
and a lot of people make beautiful sound, and that isn't as interesting to me.
Right.
I love a beautiful sound, and it's thrilling. But when it can be combined with somebody who really believes what they're singing.
When you
I
get
once,
that intentive lyric behind it.
right. There used to be an organization, I don't know if you remember this, Michael, you might be too young, called Hearts and Voices.
I know of Hearts and Voices.
Yeah. And so it was the 80s and the
Mhm.
90s, going into the AIDS wards, because we were all doing huge benefits to raise money, but nobody was actually singing for the people who were in the hospitals. So that was an organization that was started, and we would go do that. And it was Austin Pendleton, who
Hmm.
was the original model in Fiddler on the Roof. And Austin does not have what you would call a brilliant voice. It's a very quirky, kind of personal thing. And I was singing, big show things and just, big, loud and trying to like have that energy. And he got up and sang Somewhere. Now, this is not an incredible voice, but he was so committed to that beautiful lyric that it stunned absolutely everyone in the hall. And it was perhaps one of the most thrilling performances I've ever seen, which was just Austin Pendleton talking to us about what he believed about that and sharing that with us. That excites me when
I,
somebody really wants to communicate what they're feeling.
I felt that way with a friend of both of ours, Sydney
Mm.
Meyer, who again isn't someone who, and I've said this to him, I've sung with him. He's not someone who has that beautiful instrument you think of when you're going
Right.
to the Met or going to a Broadway show, but the way he communicates a lyric
Right.
can
And it
move
makes
you in
all
such
the
a way.
difference.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, I want to know that you have experienced what I've experienced. I mean, that to me is the thrilling part of music is that, listen, this is causing me a little bit pain, and now I'm going to share it with you, and maybe you felt the same thing. I think that's what art and drama and music and dance is all about, is I'm feeling something, you know,
Making
I,
the audience think and feel.
right. Yeah.
That's, I mean, as a performer, I think that's where the greatest joy can come, is
Oh,
when you know that connection has been there
right.
and you've
Yeah.
made someone think of something in a new way or feel something that
Feel
they weren't ready
something
to
that they
feel.
haven't thought about in a long
Mm.
time. I think that's a really thrilling part of what we do. And sometimes it works and sometimes yeah, it
Yeah,
doesn't. But,
sometimes
you
it
know,
does.
you got to throw that pasta against the wall to see if it'll
See what
stick?
sticks. Yeah. Who were, as you were starting out in Chicago and then coming to the city, who were some of the performers who inspired you or you wanted to model some of your performance after?
Well, certainly, acting wise and vocally, I think Judy Garland
Mhm.
and Barbara Streisand were two huge influences on me, stealing an awful lot from both of them. And I just loved the what they gave to their music and totally different things. To me, Garland is all heart and all she's just all heart. At least it comes across that way. She's a brilliant actor, and it always seems like she's sharing with me, her best friend,
Right.
what she is feeling. And Streisand has a little bit more of a separate, it's a little bit more, this is what I'm feeling and I'm singing about it. It's just a little bit more of a not detached although that's the only word I can think of right now. It's a little bit more of a detached.
A little more presentational than Garland.
A little bit more, yeah, yeah. And so you feel like you have to come, Garland comes out to you. You feel with Streisand, you kind of have to go to her. And, so I learned from both of them some really fantastic lessons and styling, what the song means, how to phrase, what's important in a song. Those were two of the biggest influences, I think, on me. Listen, I grew up listening to Frank Sinatra too, so yeah, that was great.
Who claimed he learned everything he knows about phrasing from Mabel Mercer.
I know, isn't that incredible? I have to admit, and this is really sad, that I did not listen to Mabel Mercer until about 4 or 5 years ago. And I've done the frickin' Mabel Mercer convention, the Cabaret Convention, for how many years? And never really explored who Mabel Mercer was. And she was remarkable. She was truly remarkable. Sat in a chair and sang and had everybody in tears.
Really just started exploring Mabel. I listened to some things through KT's suggestion.
Yes.
When I started to teach the cabaret history course I do for the 92nd Street Y, and really dug into some of Mabel's work for that. And that connection to lyric.
Yeah.
And the way she expresses it.
Yeah.
It means just sitting in a chair center stage.
What is that? We all try to be, have fancy clothes and props and, if you do all of these things, but she just sat and captured an audience and spoke to
Julie Wilson had that stillness in her performance too.
Say that again?
Julie Wilson had that stillness.
Yeah.
And simplicity in her performance as well.
Yeah. It's heart and simplicity, and I just love that. I love that. That definitely speaks to me. Having a beautiful voice is great, and we all work to maintain our voices. Hopefully you can, but it's more important the heart and the communication.
Well, I think that's a good time for us to have our first clip of the evening.
Oh boy, hope I'm doing it.
Karen has no clue what clips I've chosen. This is a bit of a bigger number, I'll be honest. Here we go. Oh, glitch, here we go.
Technology.
Isn't it great? They were all showing up before, and now they're...
A dream about you, baby. It's gonna come true, baby. They think that we're through, but baby, you'll be swell, you'll be great. Gotta have the world on a plate, starting here, starting now. Honey, everything's coming up roses. Clear the decks, clear the tracks. You got nothing to do but relax. Blow a kiss, take a bow. Honey, everything's coming up roses. Now's your inning. Stand the world on its ear. Set it spinning. That'll be just the beginning. Curtain up, light the lights. You got nothing to hit but the heights. You'll be swell, you'll be great. I can tell, just you wait. That lucky star I talk about is due. Honey, everything's coming up roses for me and for you. You can do it. All
Nothing subtle about that performance.
Well, but that brings me to my next question, because I know you have played that role. Is there a difference in your approach in musical theater versus preparing a song for the cabaret setting?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, the character of Rose, when she sings that song, she's gone a little nutty.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to make this happen. And if you come out and sing that as the opening of the second act like that to people who have at a concert, I think you're going to scare the living daylights out of them. So yes, you have to. You have to. I mean, these songs can take on so many different roles, and that's what's exciting about it. You don't have to just hold on to it in one part of your show, or that's truly an amazing part of what we do. Is you can lift things out and utilize them as long as they fit.
And give them new life and new meaning and new.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that arrangement was done for me actually, so many years ago by Brian Lasser, who I met in Chicago. And where we performed that was Chris Denny at the piano. And where we performed that was in Barcelona at the Teatro the Liceu, in which they were doing a world cabaret series. And it was fantastic, so they did a 3-camera shoot. The only thing that I was ever upset about was the fact that on one of my big notes, they held the camera on Chris's hands. It was like, hello, I'm up here working.
I'm over here.
Hello, big note over here.
Come look. Well, that makes sense. Let's talk then about your team. Right now, there's a lot of people who would say someone of your stature wouldn't need a director anymore. But you always use Barry Kleinbord. You have Chris Denny with you. You have this strong team. And what is that collaboration process for you?
I trust them, and they interest me a lot. I love working with them because they push me, and yet they know what my strong skills are. So they utilize those in a way that that show me off. And yet there is a real, Karen, try this. Karen, try this. This is going to be good for you. Karen, try this.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I fight them. But they're, brilliant men. And, I know a lot of people change around and like that, always having somebody new. I think there's a conversation now that we don't have to have at the beginning of rehearsals,
right,
about getting to know each other, and that's invaluable to me. I get pushed enough by them that it's thrilling, but not so much that I feel like I can't accomplish what they would like me to do. I can find myself in how they envision the new show or the new arrangement.
How long have you been a unit together?
Chris and I started working, Brian died in 91, and Chris and I started working together in 92. Barry came in, I think, around 96, 97.
Okay.
No, maybe it was later than that. It was later than that because I was out in Los Angeles doing Sunset Boulevard and in like 93, 94. And it was coming back into town. So it might have been 97.
Okay.
When Barry came into the mix. And I enjoy working with them. I like the things that we come up with. And I don't feel that I can't, I feel like it's a collaboration, We each bring very strong talents to the table, and it's a good collaboration.
If you're a long-standing team, there becomes a second nature, a secondhand language between you that...
Right. And honestly, trust is a big thing for me, and loyalty. So I I those are two valued traits, and all three of us seem to have it. Sometimes, listen, maybe you don't push the same way that somebody who works with a variety of directors does. But I do this enough that I want to go out there and feel like my rehearsal process is a lot of fun. I mean, let's face it, we're not going to make bazillion dollars here in cabaret.
Yeah, that's not what this art form does for us.
Right. So I want to go out and have a good time and enjoy the rehearsals and enjoy the people I work with. And that's worth it to me to work with. I found them. I love working with them. And we keep striving, so that's
I use
good.
the same team for almost a decade now.
Yeah.
So I completely see that.
Yeah, it's a really, you do develop a shorthand speaking with each other, and I don't have to say, no, this phrase doesn't work for me anymore. I mean, yeah, I'll say it if it doesn't, but Chris already knows, or Barry already knows. And Barry is so brilliant. I mean, listen, why would I change? Barry is also a writer. So if I go, this song might need a new lyric, might need a Christmas lyric, or might need how about if we change it to, and he'll go, okay, sit down, write something out. I mean, that's gold. That's gold.
I
So
completely.
that, well, he came up with the idea, and I just loved it. We did it for a show that we did at Birdland last year, or a year, whatever, a year and a half ago. Time is, God,
Who
who
knows?
knows? Who knows?
But we could still go to clubs back then.
Right. And we did an opening number, or maybe it was the second number, and it was Lulu's Back in Town, but we did it as Karen's Back in Town. And he rewrote it, so it was about, the second bridge was about my being in Love Never Dies. And,
Right.
And
I saw
that's,
that show. It worked wonderfully.
yeah, it was really fun. I love that. Maybe the only one in the room who does, but I love that. So I'm
You get it, then you have that ability with each other to just let loose and play.
right.
Be creative and find what's worked. And that artifice of getting to know each other and each other's artistry is gone.
Yeah, it's like working with a new therapist. It takes how many months to actually feel comfortable enough. And we've already done that now with each
Right.
other. We're each other's therapists, and we've been with each other for a long time. So
Oh, I love that. Well, let's take it back to the beginning with you coming to the city. So you were in Chicago and you were working with Brian at a restaurant, right?
well, for about 6 months, yes, we worked
Okay.
at a restaurant and called Lawrence of Oregano's. They had singing waiters and waitresses.
I love that
And
name.
huh? It's a
love
great
that
name,
name.
right? Yeah, an Italian restaurant. And so they decided to do away with the singing waiters and waitresses, and so Brian was going to leave, and I thought, I think I'm not going to let this guy out of my, I'm not letting him out of my sight. And we just started working together well, actually what happened was he was doing private parties
Okay.
and said, do you mind if I bring a singer along? And they said, no, but we're not giving you any more money. And so he said, I didn't care. I just wanted to be with him singing and working. And we would work hours, Michael, on arrangements, on music, just sing through music, just find stuff. I mean, we were still trying to figure out who we were, and it was beyond thrilling. It was so exciting.
That joy of collaboration and creativity.
Oh, yeah. I was poor as a church mouse, but it did not care. And we got our first job our first job was New Year's Eve at a little gay bar called La Pub. And no, I take that back. That was not our first job. It was New Year's Eve at a place called Bob Farber's. Oh, shoot, The Other Side. That's what it was, The Other Side. They had great Italian beef sandwiches. And yes, so
That
we
helps with a
made.
gig.
It does. That was part of the payment, actually. And we, I think, I don't know who was there. We probably packed it with all of our friends. But, we did perhaps 50 minutes of ballads, Happy New Year, and maybe one or two up tempos. But we had a great time. And so from that, we started to look for more work, and we started at a place called La Pub, which was a small gay bar that had a half price night. So we started on half price night. They had the front bar where people would come and, try to meet somebody, and then the back bar where they had a horrible piano, by the way, a piano, and some tables and stuff. So people would come, and in between picking somebody up, they'd come back and sit in the back. And we didn't have a cover, it was just, we just did shows. And we went from half price night to doing 2 shows on half price night to doing 3 nights a week to doing 5 nights a week. And then it was like 3 shows a night, 5 nights a week. We were working hard, and it was the best. It was absolutely the best, because we learned what really stunk and what was really good for us. That is how we learned who we were, as artists.
Well, there's a joy at that age of getting paid to be creative and make music with your best friends.
Absolutely.
What could be better?
Absolutely. There's, I was not totally young, but I was so passionate about being with him and making music. I figured the money would come, and it came-ish. I've never, been a huge money maker, but I don't care. I love what I do, and that continues, that more and more. Yeah, it is. I have enough.
Yeah.
I have enough.
So you and Brian moved to the city together, right?
Yes, we did. Well, he knew a lot of, Brian was very social and knew so many people. I was not as social as he, and so he knew all these people who he had gone to school with at the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana. And so he, got in touch with all these people. He would just stay in touch with all of them. And we decided, we had done a concert in Chicago, 1 or 2 concerts. And we decided this was about as far as we were going to go in Chicago. And we needed to either go Los Angeles or New York.
Okay.
And both of us were theater babies, so
New York.
we wanted to be where New York, in New York. And so we moved here, and we had our first job in 1978 at the Ballroom when it was down in Soho, one night. And we got a great review in the New York Times, and we went, let's go, we're moving. So we moved by 79, we were here, and met, I'm not, honestly, I'm not exactly sure how we met, Irv Rabel
Right.
and Rob Hoskins, who had just purchased the duplex, and we're going to be making that into a little club. And they offered us, I guess, Brian probably spoke with them. I know I didn't, but Brian probably did, because he was always out at the bars. And we were told we could do 1 night a week for as long as we wanted. And we did. We did it for like 3 years. Off and on. We would go back to Chicago to earn some money to come back to New York and lose it. Because the duplex seated 60 people. And our cover was $5, I think. And there were nights where we had 4 or 5 people. But we were building a name, and that was a luxury that really is not afforded cabaret people anymore. That kind of support that Irv and Rob gave to, I guess financially it's not feasible, I don't know. but that blind support.
You still see it some, I think. Sydney does as much as he can.
Right. Listen, they owned the club, so they could do what they wanted. And Sydney is probably one of the most supportive of performers around. He's a true bright light in this crazy world. He truly is.
And so was it the connection to Irv that took you to be the double bill to open Mamas?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, so Nancy and I, and it was 83 when Mamas opened. And Nancy had, we were both, she had been working the duplex and, making a name for herself, I think coming from San Francisco with her cred. And Irv and Raba offered us to co-open this new club they were opening on 44th Street. So it was
46.
46, pardon me. And we said, absolutely. No thought whatsoever. Absolutely. Open a club? Yeah. And so we did. And it was a thrilling thing to open a brand new space. And it was a beautiful club. I mean, it brand new.
Mm-hmm.
It was shiny and new and exciting, and no leaks, nothing. It hadn't aged yet, so
Yeah.
it didn't have all those little things that make it a little bit more complicated these days. But it was a beautiful space, and there were some celebrities who came, and there was just an excitement about it. Everybody was excited, dressed up, tuxes, and it was a very special time. And so we did that for, I think, 2 weeks.
Okay.
And then I would come back and do shows, you'd do 5 nights or 2 weeks. That was a time also when you did that. And Nancy, we both built
Nancy
up
Lamont, if anybody doesn't know.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Nancy Lamont. And we, built up our audiences and both kind of went separate ways from Don't Tell Mama.
Mm-hmm.
And actually in 2015, I went back after
Right.
30 something years.
You did the run of Mason at Mama's in March.
March, yeah, I loved that title.
I
And
love that show.
yeah, that was a good show. As a matter of fact, we did a tape of it, and we're going to be doing a couple of special presentations of it in October.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it'll be a private party that the cost to get into the party will be $15, and so we'll do 2 or 3 performances of it, 2 or 3 showings of it on YouTube, and it's very exciting because it's a beautiful tape. Michael E. Stever did the video, and Paul did fix the audio, and we did some of the arrangements that we did that opening night that I did with Brian, and then how I've grown along the way, and it was spectacular. I had such a great time. We did 5 weeks of 2 nights, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. We did 5 nights of that and sold out the entire run. It was really special to go back and and tell those stories again.
Well, for the participants who are listening and watching, I do send out an email with the playlist of videos I use or videos I almost used. When I send that to you in a couple of days, I will include a link to Karen's website where I'm sure you can find the information about those streaming shows.
Oh, that's
You
fantastic.
have that information and can watch what truly is an amazing show.
Thank you. Thank you. I was so proud of that show.
I think it's time for our next clip.
Oh.
This is a clip from the 1987 Mac Awards
Oh, good God. Wait a minute. I think I know what I look like.
of you and Brian.
All right.
That's not the one we want. It didn't pop up correctly. There we are. No. Sorry for the technical difficulties. It's not doing what we want it to do. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Karen Mason and Brian Lasso.
You know, I'm not sure I've seen this. Oh, yes, I have. I thought I was so pretty.
Bows and flows of angel hair and ice cream castles in the air and feathered canyons everywhere. I've looked at clouds that way, but now they only block the sun. They rain and snow on everyone. So many things I would have done, but clouds got in my way. I've looked at clouds from both sides now, from up and down, and still somehow it's clouds' illusions I recall. I really don't know clouds at all. Moons, Junes, Ferris wheels, the dizzy dancing way you feel when every fairy tale comes real. I've looked at love that way, but now it's just another show. You'll leave 'em laughing when you go. And if you care, don't let them know. Don't give yourself away. I've looked at love from both sides now, from give and take, and still somehow love's illusions I recall. I really don't know at all. Tears and fears and feeling proud to say I love you right out loud. Dreams and schemes and circus crowds. I've looked at life that way. But now old friends are acting strange. They shake their heads, they say I've changed. Well, something's lost, but something's gained in living every day. I've looked at life from both sides now, from win and lose, and still somehow it's life's illusions I recall. I really don't know life at all. Something's lost, but something's gained in living every day. I've looked at life from both sides now, from win and lose, and still somehow it's life's illusions I recall. I really don't know life. I really don't know love. I really don't know
Oh, there's so much to say about that clip.
Well, what would you like to say then?
What was the date of that?
1987 Mac
Yeah.
Awards.
Woo, man.
I mean, I think we have a few people who are watching tonight who may have been in the room when that happened.
Yeah. You know, the 80s were great for really over-the-top arrangements and crazy hair I mean, what was I thinking? And the pants, I mean, everything. I thought I was so stylish.
For the
I,
time, you were the epitome of fashion.
yes, I was the epitome of something. I'm not sure it was epitome of fashion, but there's, I'm not quite sure I ever really knew what that song meant until I was much older.
Mm.
But Brian loved that arrangement and did it. I thought, okay, I'm jumping in. I'm jumping right into the deep end with that arrangement. And there's, it's the 80s were so big and over the top and kind of fun in that way. I mean, talk about release during a song. Wow.
Well,
Just
and
amazing.
it was a very different time for our art form as well. I
Absolutely.
mean, when you came in, I mean, the art form of cabaret has very much had a roller coaster of peaks and valleys of respect and press coverage. And the artistry has always been there.
Yeah.
But also then as the financial model has changed, as you were saying earlier, the times are maybe gone that you knew that on a Friday night, I can walk into Mama's and it's going to be Karen Mason. It's going to be Nancy Lamont. You know that it's going to be a quality, classic, amazing show. And I don't know that that's there as much. I think as we lost, and then I'll say this and then leave it to you to comment on, but I think as we moved from the late 60s through the 70s as clubs were closing into the 80s, we really did lose the press coverage and respect a lot in the art form. Do you want to comment on that?
You think that's from the 70s into the 80s? I mean, I can certainly see that in the 80s. Since I really wasn't here in the 70s, were the papers really covering?
It kind of went through from my research that
Yeah,
mid to late 70s, it ebbed. It came back a bit in the 80s and then left again.
yeah,
I mean, I would say prior to 1970, it was much bigger. That's when cabaret was launching stars
right,
left and right.
right.
Because all of the TV shows and the morning shows,
Needed.
shows were filmed here
Right.
and
Yeah.
went to the duplex to book talent.
Right, right. Yeah, that didn't happen in the 80s. By that time, it had all kind of, first of all, variety shows
Right.
don't exist really. And when they do put on variety shows, people go, "Oh, I wish they would bring that back," but then the audience is never there for it. Which is sad because I used to love growing up with all those variety shows. I loved them. And seeing such a crazy potpourri of talent was always so much fun. By the time the 80s rolled around when we got here, all of those clubs that brothers and sisters,
Upstairs, the downstairs.
right, they were all on their way out and if not already out, were, on their way. And having trouble economically, I think Streisand was kind of like the last one that was discovered.
Right.
Barbara Cook played in Brothers and Sisters, I think. Yeah. And people just were not into going and sitting and watching performers. Nightclubs as a genre were really on their way out. And then, when I think people kind of rediscovered cabarets again in the late 80s, early 90s. Some of the younger performers discovered them. I mean, listen, I think cabarets have always been on their last legs since I moved here.
Right.
Not that I take it personally.
We've said it's a dying art form for decades.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, since I started it, it's been dying. And somehow people still want to have that communication with a performer. And performers want to have that communication. I think the dollar sign has, the finances of it have made it more complicated. People can't just go and do shows and build an audience.
Right.
And, you can't do, listen, when Barbara Cook started, I'm sure her first act was not as good as she was but they gave her a chance. Yes, she was Barbara Cook, but she needed time to understand what that was. And she was given it. And I think all performers who have any value in cabaret know that you have to learn. It's not just showing up and doing songs that you love.
It's not just a musical theater recital.
It's not. It's not.
It's a different art form that you need to learn in its own way.
Yeah. And sometimes the clubs, I think, made it more complicated for the performers. I remember in the 80s, there was, going around, there were, I heard about places that what they would do is they would charge you a fee, and then if you hit that in sales, then, they would pay you something. But if you didn't, then they'd cancel you, or you had to pay them even more. I mean, it was such a ridiculous economy. And so that started to just whittle down on people who were trying to learn how to do it. And it made it more complicated. By the time you get to the 90s, and, it's even worse. And now a lot of the clubs, all you need to do is fill it once. And and anybody can fill a room once.
Friends and family.
Right, please.
But if you're trying, like you said, trying to build a name and a career, what happens at show 3 or show 4?
Right. And anybody can do one great show.
Mm-hmm.
It's the day after. That's the hard one. The next day, when you've gotten past the excitement, and now you're just doing a show for people who are not, you had a fabulous show and all that energy, and now you have people who are not as excited because it's not opening night, and they're not, the friends that come who scream for you every time you move.
Right.
You have to work a little harder. You have to work a little differently. And those are the skills that I think are harder to learn in this economy now.
Are those, as someone who teaches cabaret and teaches performance in master classes, is that something you think can be taught in a workshop setting, or does it only come from?
I think it comes from experience. It's like anything. You can teach somebody to be a great actor, but until they're in a show, you're acting in a vacuum. And honestly, I don't teach cabaret, because I leave that to the people like the directors, and I will have an opinion, but I prefer to work on, to me, it's my field is more song performance. What does it mean to you? Where does it fit in the show? What do you want to say with it? Those types of things. That a lot of times people, they just love the song. Listen, I do it myself. I've always loved a certain song, and I bring it to Chris and Barry, and we cannot make it work. So standing in my home, I'm brilliant. But, putting it into a show is not the same exercise.
There's those songs that you want to do that stay on the shelf for shows and decades because they just don't fit. Right.
Yeah.
Are there any other distinctive changes you've noticed in the art form? And we kind of talked up to the mid-90s, so let's say in the last 15 to 20 years.
I think what's interesting to me is that a lot of younger people are interested in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just, this is going to sound really bad. Did you ever see Charles Bush do his Miriam Passman?
Yes.
Okay, I think that was during the 70s. That was during the 80s. And Miriam Passman got the 2:00 show on a Sunday. She lives in Long Island, and she was so excited to get her 2:00 show at Don't Tell Mama. That was her slot. And there was a lot of, people who kind of wanted to sing and really had not many skills. Now it feels like there's an awful lot of people with skills who want to come and try to do cabaret, who are fascinated by singing to people in a small environment. And I think that's great. I see a total resurgence of that.
I think pre-pandemic, because who knows where things are going to be
Oh, right.
6 months from now or whenever clubs can think about reopening, but we were seeing that upswing again.
Yeah.
Thanks to some of the Broadway names, whether they are successful necessarily in the cabaret art form, they were trying it and they were bringing spotlight to it at Birdland Theater 54. And some of the drag queens we've had come through the Beachmen, where I work, who love the art form of cabaret and aren't doing the old style lip sync show, they're doing a real cabaret show.
Right.
And they're bringing a different spotlight to the art form.
I don't know whether it's that as whatever this time that we're in, that people are really starting, I guess, as technology has gotten more involved and complicated and separated us a little bit, there is that fascination with something it's not one-on-one in a cabaret, but it's you and, a group of people.
Right.
Or you in a group of people watching somebody, relate to you in a way that you don't get on Zoom and, watching America's Got Talent, that there's not really a great deal there that moves me. It's not supposed to, it's supposed to dazzle. It's supposed to make you vote for them. But when you're in you have an hour of somebody's time, you have to give them a lot of different colors of who you are and what you want to express. And I think people are hungry for that connection.
That intimacy.
That personal connection. And so it's good for all of us, good for the clubs, that people are, hopefully now they'll get out of their, whatever happens, when we all start opening again, that they'll be so hungry for that personal connection that we're all going to do great. It'll be a fantastic resurgence of cabarets.
I hope so.
Listen, you see people saying, I can't wait to hug somebody.
Yeah.
That's a personal connection that they just want to have. And young, old, all these young theater people, Broadway's gotten younger and younger and younger and younger. Or I've gotten older and older and older and older, which is possibly what's going on. But, they're all interested in this. They're all interested in that phenomenon called cabaret. It's not quite the bastard child it used to be. It's a feasible thing now.
So how do you think we take that connection and that interest so that it isn't necessarily, just as we said earlier, musical theater recitals happening on the stages? How do we get them in to learn the art form as it is?
Well, it would be really nice if there were places. Well, I know a lot of our fellow performers who have worked a long time, and people, quite a few people. You see them all come through, the West Bank, and there are a lot of people teaching it. A lot of people who can work with you on your club act. I think it's important to search out the people who are interesting.
Yeah.
Who are artists, and to help you. That's still why I have a director. I couldn't do this on my own. I would not have a clue some of these songs that I sing and how to put them together. And I've been doing this a long time. And I like to have somebody suggest things to me and tell me, no, that's not going to work there. Try this. My instincts are pretty good, but I need somebody who can.
That outside eye.
Yes, that's right. Absolutely.
You can't see how it's playing.
Right. And
You
I
can't tell
want
how it's going to be
somebody,
for the audience without that director there telling you.
yeah, I think it's really risky to not have a director. And I don't mean a musical director. I
Mhm.
mean, I think you need somebody outside of a musical
Well, the
director.
music director can't see it from the front either.
Right.
They can't tell what that look you're giving or that gesture that's coming every time you sing the song
Yeah.
that isn't playing because they're playing and they're focused.
Yeah, it's funny because I've been doing these Thursday night shows
Right. Yes.
yeah,
Every Thursday at 5 p.m.
at 5 p.m.
On your
Mason's
YouTube
making
channel.
music,
Yes.
5 p.m. Eastern. And Chris said he's been watching, and he said it's really interesting because I've never seen you perform,
Right.
which is true. He's never seen me except from the side.
Uh, my music director has never seen me perform either.
Yeah,
William T. N. Hall has no clue what this looks like from the front performing.
that's kind of funny. I never really thought of it, but he said he's really been enjoying the shows, seeing, how I perform.
But yeah, they're behind us or to the side of us.
Right.
It's
It's crazy.
so I did want to ask, you have gotten to work with some amazing, legendary composers,
Yeah.
Weber, but more so Kander and Ebb,
Yeah.
Frank Wildhorn.
Billy Goldenberg, the Bergmans.
Yes.
Yeah.
What is it like working so closely with that that type of artistry? Or like with Kander and Ebb, they were already known when you did And the World Goes Round. So you went in knowing who Kander and Ebb were.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
Will you talk about that for a moment?
Sure. With each of them, because they're each individuals, it's all very different. But with Kander and Ebb going into doing And the World Goes Round, it's amazing how the more brilliant the artist, uh, sometimes they're the most humble in the room,
Mm.
and so willing to collaborate. They're brilliant collaborators with each other and really collaborate with the artistic staff and with the actors to a certain extent. We didn't have a great deal of connection with John and Fred, but they were there quite a lot.
Hmm.
And I'm sure I've heard Scott and Susan talk about this, that they really did have input on how the show was structured. They had a lot of ideas, and opinions on how things should be. Because when we did it at the whole theater, which was Olympia Dukakis's theater, it used to be. I don't think it's still there. I think it closed, and that's where we were workshopping it. We rehearsed it, but then we did it on stage. But there we were changing things, and even in rehearsal. And John and Fred were very much a part of that process, just not directly with us. But certainly watching how they collaborated with Scott and Susan, they have respect
Hmm.
for their collaborators, and that's a really beautiful and inspiring thing to watch. They did not come into the room, watch me, I'm the one in charge. They came in with, let's do a show. They came in very humbly and very as collaborators.
Mm.
And that was really beautiful to watch. And they've all been different. Is Frank is a funny. I adored working with Frank, and he makes me laugh a great deal, and I was kind of like Grandma Karen in the show. I'm always like the old person, and he's a flirt. He's a big old flirt, and I loved it. We had a great time. And he wrote that song with me in mind, which, hey, you can't go wrong with somebody who writes,
Yeah.
off with their heads with you in mind, because it's got some of your skills in there. He was great to work with. Billy Goldenberg, I adored Billy Goldenberg. He was the kindest. I did a couple of I did a lot of demos for Billy for
Okay.
new shows. Actually, when Ballroom was, they were thinking of doing. Well, I did a demo for John and Fred also when they were doing the demos for The Visit.
Okay.
I did the original demos for that,
Mm.
and that was really cool. I have to say, I'm a fan more than anything. I'm just such a freaking fan. I love that kind of talent, and it's so awesome to be around. Um, so when I was working with Billy, I did a couple of demos for him, and I did they were going to trying to pitch Ballroom again.
Okay.
And so I went in and did some demos for them of 50% and
I love your recording of 50% on your album.
oh, thank you. Well, that's Billy at the piano.
Mm.
Um,
Oh,
you
how
know, we
wonderful.
I know we asked him if we could use it, and he said of course. But I did. They were pitching it to Barbara Streisand, and they were pitching it to this person and that person. And I'm thinking, Barbara Streisand heard me. And then did a couple presentations for the Bergmans, and Marilyn and Alan have always been. Marilyn said to me, "We're going to throw a gray wig on you and let you do the role." It's like, yeah, well,
But
that
isn't
time has come.
when those of us who were geeky theater kids growing up can have those experiences, now we're like, oh, this is real life.
Yeah,
I'm doing this. Okay.
I know. Isn't that a wonderful thing? If we could just step back and look at all of the opportunities we've had. Listen, I'm like everybody else. There are times I think, why did I choose this? I don't seem to be getting very far. I don't seem to be doing all the things I want to do. Why did she get that? Why did she get that? Why did she get that? I'm a human being.
Mm-hmm.
But then I get to be reminded of Frank Wildhorn and Billy Goldenberg and the Bergmans and Kander and Ebb. I mean, how lucky am I to have, they called me Karen. Come on. Which is, of course, my name. But to
hear it coming out of their mouths.
I know. There's a part of me that just always going, I'm a fan. I'm in awe of those people. When we first started working here in New York, and I met Michael Kirker from ASCAP, and he's one of the vice presidents of ASCAP. And Michael is a great supporter of the Great American Songbook and would do all of these. ASCAP would do these presentations at Town Hall and there was one honoring Burton Lane. And so I got to sing one of Burton Lane's songs with him sitting right in the front row with Sammy Kahn and the Wings. Sammy Kahn actually wrote me a note. I mean, I still have it. I'm such a fan. Sammy Kahn wrote me a note, saying how much he loved my performance and he wanted to pitch me some songs. This is freaking Sammy Kahn. I just, it's such a, it's a phenomenon to me. You're right. It just makes that little kid that, saying her one line at St. Viator's High School in the, at the during the musical, to think that she'd be meeting all of these people. It's pretty. Sheldon Harnick. These are lovely human beings. Amanda McBroom, Julie Gold. I mean, look at all these great songwriters, great talents.
Wonderful people.
Yeah.
Well, you have one thing prepared for us, but I always end the main section with the exact same question for everyone.
I'm drinking. Yes.
Yes, have your sip.
It's only water. Yes.
If you had to answer this in a couple sentences, if someone came up to you and just asked, What is cabaret?
Um, Cabaret is the communication between an artist and the audience. It's a conversation. It's I think that's it. I think cabaret is a conversation between a performer and the audience.
I love that. That's a great answer.
Yeah.
You still want to do a tune for us?
Sure, I'll do a
I
tune.
love that. And I know all of our participants will love it as well.
All right, let me see. Now, see, I have to find it. Okay. Um, it would be so much smoother if I had Chris Denny at the piano. But this is Sean Harkness on the guitar,
Oh, fantastic.
and written by Brian Lasser. And okay, so good. There will be better days, there will be brighter lights, and even better ways to deal with lonely nights. With every broken heart, another chance to start. There will be better days. There will be other springs and even bluer skies. 'Cause every new day brings a special new surprise. With every tear that falls, another morning calls. There will be better days. Though it seems that all is lost and hope has gone astray, keep your dreams at any cost. Love will find its way. There will be someone new, let me give again. And he'll know what to do to help me live again. And when the fear has passed and love is here at last, there will be better days. Now there's only rain in sight and darkness at your door. Wait a while and you just might find there's something more. For if there's sun again to drive the rain away, someone will come again to take the pain away. So when the midnight cries, my eager heart replies, there will be better days. There will be wind. There will be rain. And there will be days. Oh, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much for
I
joining.
love that song. I think that's a good song for right now.
It is. It is. There will be better days.
Yeah,
We will be back in the clubs and back
we
making
will be.
art.
Yeah, we have to hold on to that. We've made it through this far.
Yeah.
It will be different. There will be other things going on, but thank God people like you, Michael, do these shows for, for all of us to be able to at least keep a connection.
Keep the art alive, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
Well, I do want to open up to any of the participants who might have questions. So if you'd like to turn your cameras on, you can. I'm going to switch to gallery view. So if you do turn your cameras on, I can see you raise your hand if you have a question. You can also put them in the chat as well, if that works better for you. Karen, just remind who was playing on that track, and it was by
Sean?
Brian. It was by Brian, correct?
Yes, Brian Lasser wrote that back in 1980. I think he wrote it in 83, 84. And that was Sean Harkness playing guitar.
There will be better days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Huh.
Usually, yeah, I asked Sean if he would do it because I thought it would be spectacular, and he's
Oh.
such a brilliant musician.
He is a brilliant musician. Jackie Draper, I saw you had your hand raised. What would you like to ask?
Oh, thank you so much for singing Better Days. I love every single song that's on the album, Better
Oh.
Days, all of them by Brian Lasser. I've
Thank
attempted to interpret some of them. I was wondering if there are any other songs besides the ones on the album that are available or of which you have recordings or lead sheets or anything. He's such a soulful, wonderful.
Well, I have some songs that are not on the CD. Actually, we did one called "What's Wrong with This Picture." That's another Brian Lasser, and that was on another one of my CDs. And "I Eat," he wrote, which is on the Christmas CD. I'd have to think about that. It's so funny. I've been singing those songs for so long. That we really put the best. We did a show that Brian had written for me. Actually, I'm lying about that because there was a show Brian wrote for me called One Tough Cookie, which there was a lot of really great music in that show, and we have not recorded it. Some really beautiful, beautiful. Becoming My Mother was used in that show, and some really great, but very young, like a Hello Tom is kind of a young, looking back type of young thing, and a lot of shopping for romance at Macy's. One night I did at the Duplex. I did an evening of Brian's music. I'd be happy to look through and see if you're looking for anything in particular, Jackie.
Oh, thank you.
Some of his sheet music is available on your website.
Yeah,
correct?
yeah. Everything on Better Days is available. Yeah.
I have that book. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Fabulous. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I Eat is one that we really should do a chart of because it's a funny song, and there are a couple of other ones from One Tough Cookie that I think are really beautiful songs. Oh shoot. Yeah, actually you're going to make me think now to go back and look at that score because there's some really, really great songs in there.
Some of those songs may appear in a future Thursday Mason's Making Music.
That's true. They could, because there's some really great songs there, and Chris has already played them, so we may as well, try to do a track for them. Yeah, thank you for inspiring me that way. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, thank you.
Bobby, it looked like you were nodding your head to try to say something. That's why I asked you to mute.
But I'm going to try to, shut up. Might I send you some songs, Karen?
Me?
Yeah.
Sure.
You don't have to sing them, but I mean, if you like them.
I'd be honored. Are you kidding?
I have a song now that Chuck Cooper did a great thing of it, and it's called Together America.
Oh, fantastic.
And it kind of was needed for around this time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'd be honored. Absolutely, Bobby.
You.
Yeah.
I have some funny ones too. I could.
Yeah. You're a
Oh,
funny gal.
scrolling through because I know somebody sent something as we were having our conversation. Um, Bobby agreed with us about needing that it is best to use a director. Oh, lovely. Karen, this is one question I had that I didn't get to ask in our general section, but I'll throw it in now. When you are working with students or up and coming performers who have been trained in the more standard musical theater style, how do you get them to that connection of the lyric?
I think most listen, if they're coming to a class that they want to learn, they're like little sponges, you know. They want to learn how to make it smaller, make it more about them. And I think we're all human beings that want to express something about ourselves, you know? And I think if you can get them to want to be free enough to express something they want to express, you know, it's a natural transition to have it be into music. I'm not the type of teacher who makes you, you know, I feel success when everybody cries. That to me is like, I don't,
Right.
that doesn't interest me. I just want them to feel, you know, to feel like they've learned something and to feel something in the performance. And if they can, you know, figure out something in their mind, I can give them a little bit of an idea on what the song is about, and then they just, you know, I try to guide them to make it personal about something. If they've chosen the song, then there's a reason they relate to it. And now it's just a matter of trying to figure out what part of it they relate to and what part of their experience, you know, they can bring into that song. And I think sometimes you do it and sometimes, you know, it works and sometimes it doesn't. But
You said earlier, throw the spaghetti at the wall.
that's right. Let's see if
See
it
what works
sticks.
and see what sticks.
Yeah, I mean, I think most people, if they come to a class, are looking to hear new things. And so, yeah, Bobby?
Bobby, yeah.
Just quickly, I want you to say that your husband is a terrific songwriter too, and I'm an
Yes, he
Yes.
is.
yes, he
Yeah.
is.
There was a clip on the Potentials that was a song written by your amazing husband. So I will keep that on the list when I send it out.
Yeah, but
Don't know
so
which-
instead you chose the one where I have the the haircut from the 80s.
I mean, I'll be honest, Garrett. I used that clip from the '80s in my cabaret history course too.
Thanks.
It's during the '80s week. So it's during '80s week, so everybody looks like that.
Okay, well that's phew, man.
Well, this has been an absolutely fantastic evening.
Oh, well thank you.
For those of you watching, Cabaret Conversations will be back again on October 5th with the wonderful Natalie Douglas. She's my October guest. In November, Cheetah Rivera will be joining me.
Woo!
And in December, I will
Come
finish
on.
here with Sydney Meyer.
Oh,
I already
It's a good list for this year.
yeah.
So I hope you will join us for those. I will be offering the Cabaret History course again at the end of October. It's a 4-week course that starts in the 1890s in Europe and brings it over to New York through today,
Wow.
with clips and audio recordings going back as far as I can find in that. So if you're interested, please join me for that. But I must again say a huge thank you, and I'm so appreciative to Karen.
It was my pleasure, Michael. Thank you so much for asking me.
Oh, well, thank you for
I'm-
saying
So
that.
much. Thank you.
Thank you for being
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you.
all.
And good night, everyone. I hope to see you all when the clubs can
Good night,
reopen.
Yay.